What's up YouTube, I am Matador Philip, and PAX South is right around the corner, which means that videos on this channel are going to be a little bit different for a couple of weeks. My wife Hipster Mermaid and I are both doing cosplay for PAX South this year, and it's crunch time, so we've really got to get moving. So I'm going to be basically vlogging my progress on the cosplays that I'm working on. I'm doing 2 this year. I'm going to be doing Handsome Jack from Borderlands 2 and MacCready from Fallout 4. I already have kind of a cosplay going. It's about halfway complete, my Handsome Jack, so I'm going to be fixing that up for the first week or so. So let me show you what I'm going to be working on. First thing is the, I don't really know what you'd call it, I guess the brooch that Handsome Jack wears. The brooch was one of the last things that I did, and I really rushed through it. I did not paint it properly. I know how to do prop painting, but I tried to kind of half-ass it, and it did not go well. Here's kind of roughly what I ended up with last year. You can see it's got these 2 panels. They were going to be electronic, just like LEDs that go in here. I have this little piece of blue that's going to be the panel in here. And so it looks okay, the shape is good, so basically I'm just going to be repainting this and just trying to do that again. So I have a plan for how I'm going to approach this. Basically, I'm going to blast this thing with a really thick coat of sandable primer, which is the best thing that I've found to do stuff like this. Some people prefer to use gesso, which is, I found it's a lot better for using for painting. Like that's basically what you use as an undercoat for oil paint, or what you coat canvases in. It's not perfect for this, and also it's very expensive. Sprayable primer is really cheap by comparison. So that's definitely what I would recommend you use for this. And then after that, I'm going to be doing a layer of black spray paint, and then kind of dry brushing the metal color over everything else and getting the different textures and the coloring of the metal going on over here. So hopefully that'll look good. I'm going to be recording that process and kind of walk you through it and talk about things that I picked up along the way, things that went well, things that didn't go well. I already made one of Handsome Jack's most important props last year, which is what I'm really proud of this. It's just the Hyperion pistol that I made. I did follow a tutorial for this. I'll leave a link for that in the description down below. But this was so much fun to make. I'm going to be doing more of this year, not for this specific cosplay, but more guns. And I will do a tutorial on that, but first things first, I got to make the brooch, so let's get busy on that. Alright, there are a couple things you're going to want to do before you get started. Make sure that you have newspapers or drop cloth or fabric or something that's laid down over the area that you want to work on, just so that things don't get too messy. I'm not using anything fancy for spray paint here either. The things that I'm using you can buy either at like Michael's, Hobby Lobby, Joann Fabrics, and the sprayable primer you could probably even pick up at Home Depot. Another really important thing to remember is if you don't have a respirator, please, for the love of God, get a respirator. I didn't use a respirator the first couple times I did this, and it was a huge mistake, so don't be an idiot like me. Just go ahead and get one anyway. This part of the process is fairly routine. Just make sure that you hold the spray paint out about 1 or 2 feet away from whatever it is you're painting, just to avoid the paint clumping up together. Spray it for a few seconds on each side until there's a nice even coat going on, and then you're just going to have to leave it alone for a bit. Depending on the brand of primer you have, it could take anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes for 1 coat to dry. I almost always need to put on at least 2 coats of primer just to make sure that I get everything into a place where I can actually sand it down and have it looking smooth. This is really important for foam because foam is very porous, so if you just put on the spray paint over it, it's going to look really weird, like it has a lot of little pock marks in it. It's not going to look good, it's not going to look professional. Give your piece a nice sanding between coats to make sure that you avoid the paint clumping up in weird ways. You're going to want a really fine grit sandpaper for this just so it gets all nice and smooth, so the higher the number on the package of sandpaper, the better it is for you. After the final layer of primer, we give it one final sand down, and then we're ready for the next layer of paint. I find that no matter what you're painting, you can never go wrong with having a layer of black underneath it all. It just helps it all look much more organic, and it looks a lot more clean and professional when it's done. Same drill as before, make sure you hold the spray paint out a good distance so that it doesn't clump, and be sure to hit it evenly up on all sides 1 coat at a time. Usually you're going to need 2 coats of this as well. Now we get to the fun part, which is painting details on your piece. For this I used a technique called dry brushing, which is basically exactly what it sounds like. You're going to take a dry paintbrush and some metallic silver acrylic paint, and you're going to brush in straight lines across. Just lightly touch the tips of the bristles to the surface and scrape it along the surface 1 stroke at a time. Go all the way across the surface one way and then go the opposite angle so you get kind of a crosshatch pattern. This is what I like to do to get kind of a brush steel effect. This stuff dries pretty quickly, so this part of the process won't take you all that long. And as usual, you're probably going to want to do at least 2 coats of this. Now the silver part's done, but I still have these little pegs that protrude out the sides that need to be a gold color. So get some painter's tape or just some masking tape and paint off the sides of it that you don't want to paint in gold, just to make sure that you don't get paint in places that you don't want it. Now you're going to do the exact same thing as you did before, but with the gold color. Alright, it's the next day, and here is the almost finished product. You can see right now it's still in two pieces. The electronics and everything, the LEDs aren't in there just yet, but you got a little hole in the side for the button or the switch to go through that I'm going to put in there. And then I basically just cut out a little piece of plastic from a blue box that I found, and that is the plate for this right here. So these are going to both be glued together, have an LED light in there so it lights up, and then I can switch it on and off whenever I want. So I'm really happy with this. It looks way better than it used to. This just goes to show you how much better things can look if you don't half-ass it, if you actually just take the time to do the things that you need to do. I don't know how well you can see it right here, but the detailing on this looks a lot smoother than it did before. You can see it has a much more actually metallic texture to it. So I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It's not quite finished yet. There was one other thing that I did that I didn't record. I put a coat of lacquer on this, which is basically just a really thin, transparent sealant. So that's basically just a transparent coating that goes on there so that the paint doesn't chip or flake off. So it holds all the colors in place. So coloring is done for this. It's not like perfectly metallic, but again, I was starting with foam, so it turned out pretty well for what it was. I'm really happy with it. So thank you guys for sticking with me through this video. I hope that was informative for some of you, that you were able to learn a few things from the process of making this guy right here. I certainly did. I'm always learning new things, even when I've done it before. Let me know in the comments if there's any questions you have or something that I forgot to mention in the process of doing this, or anything that you want to know how to make in the future. If I've never made it before, then hey, I'll try it and then we'll see how that goes. Don't forget to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel for more. I got a lot of these videos coming out in the next couple of weeks. Again, thank you guys so much for watching this video, and until next time, adios. Anyway, it's been a really big year for me, and I hope it's been a good year for all of you guys as well. I've had a lot of fun starting up this channel. This has probably been the defining thing about what I've been doing this year, at least for the second part of this year. The channel did get off to a really slow start, but that was entirely because I just didn't commit fully to it right away. But over the last month or two particularly, I've really